Welcome, welcome. Today we are going to be talking about essential oils and stress. What a topic.
What a day for a topic.
What a day for a topic. I think when we pick these, we decide to write about them and study them out. We give ourselves about 3 months. And inevitably, if we're going to talk about TMJ, one of us does TMJ. And if we're going to talk about headaches, we'll have a string of headaches. I think the Lord tries to give us some experience. And who the heck picked stress?
I believe that was me.
I think this was a really dumb idea.
I used to say my kids, when I would read a new book, would give me the practice on the things I'd read about, but now they're gone from home. I do it myself.
They're gone from home. So we really need some commenting, and we need, if you've got any questions, if there's anything in particular that you are hoping we'll cover, then that'd be great. And also, if somebody would comment, just let us know that you can hear us and everything's working well. We're using a new program, so
we don't want to be talking to ourselves.
We'd rather not talk to ourselves if somebody let us know that you can hear us. So I guess we'll get started, and hopefully somebody will comment and let us know that you can hear us, and off we go with stress and essential oils. So different people handle stress differently. Some people can handle a whole bunch of stress and it doesn't even seem to bother them at all. And some people, the slightest little bit of stress really throws them for a loop. And I'm one of those people that can take on an enormous amount of stress without too much problems.
I used to be, but I think I must have popped myself out the last 6 months. Since this Energizer Bunny, who never gets sick, has been having a little struggle.
Speaking of TMJ, since it's caused by stress, for me, what oils do you recommend? We're going to come across some. And as we're talking about the different emotional pictures, I'm sure that you'll find better ones than I'm.
So is the blog article on TMJ?
There is a blog article on TMJ.
I'm the one who demonstrated TMJ, and I researched it and did a whole article on it. So
there's two different. I mean, there's TMJ that's like, if it's emotional, it can be from clenching and your jaw and trying not to say things that probably need to be said. And then there's the TMJ that's caused by saying too much.
Structural.
And then there's a structural issue for it. So if it's stress causes, probably either from not saying the things that you need to or saying too much and then regretting it later. And we're going to come across oils for both of that today. Okay, so it says we're loud and clear and all is well. So off we go to how our bodies handle stress and what the damaging effects of stress are.
So damaging effects of stress. Well, we listed some of them here.
We're going to put out this blog this afternoon, but pretty much you can break it down by emotional and mental. So some of the emotional symptoms of stress are like frequently becoming upset, frustrated, agitated, mood swings, when you just really feel overwhelmed.
When you feel overwhelmed, okay?
Sometimes you really are.
And I'll forget to talk about it later if I don't hear. So number one, homeopathic polycrest remedy for women is sepia. And the emotional of that is feeling overwhelmed. Yep. You love your family, you love what you do, but you wake up in the morning going, if one person asks me one question, if one person wants breakfast, I am going to lose my mind.
I can't take
and
one more.
It's the number 3 polycrest for men. So men, you don't get out of this one either. So.
Sepia is a good one to look into, but it's not
an essential oil. But to notice the whole end of this article, I wandered off.
We're going to get into some flower essences today, but they are amazing for stress. So some other emotional symptoms of stress would be finding it difficult to relax or quiet your mind, low self-esteem,
wanting to be in control, feeling like your world is running you instead of you running your world, which makes you a bit of a control freak, which then leads to manipulative tactics, which then,
feeling lonely, and you cut yourself off from people trying to get everything that you need to get done. Yeah. So then there's some mental symptoms of stress. And they're worrying constantly, your thoughts racing through your mind night and day, forgetfulness or being disorganized. The inability to focus, poor judgment. There's a really good oil for people who make hasty decisions, and be darned if it's going to come to my mind.
Well, focus would work till we think of the real one.
Well, this is a single.
Got me.
It's not white pepper.
I didn't bring a notebook or a note. So
no, it's one I was reading about this morning, and I only read about 3. It wasn't white pepper, and it wasn't orange bitter. It was the third one.
Oh, it'll come to you as soon as you focus.
Yes, it'll come to me.
All right. Darn. Being negative, seeing the down side of things. Do that very long, and your husband stops listening to you because he gets tired of hearing about it.
Yeah. So then there's behavioral symptoms of stress too, and you'll see those. This is a good one for like watching your children, if they're exhibiting these behaviors, then you might think, oh, you know what, they're not handling the stress in their life as well as they could. And maybe I need to get some oils to help them. And then you can pay attention to the emotions for them. So some of those behavioral symptoms would be nail biting, fidgeting, pacing, drumming their fingers. I have one that does that. Constantly chewing on something, the end of a pencil.
Constant tapping of the feet. I've even seen people pluck their eyebrows or pluck their hair out of their head.
Sometimes procrastinating and avoiding all of their responsibilities. They just feel so overwhelmed that they don't ever get started on anything.
Don't know where to start. I'm a great list maker because if I put it on the list, I know I'll get to it eventually and it falls off the stress list.
Addictions. Teenagers that get into addictions can also be an overload of stress, too much on their plates. And so then they'll get into things like alcohol and drugs. And so another one to watch for with kids is a change in appetite. If they're all of a sudden eating a whole bunch more than they used to, they could just be hitting a growth spurt, but you could be like, okay, what stress am I not seeing in their life?
Stress will really wipe out nutrition. It'll affect the minerals, and then they will eat different things or more than they should. And that makes them.
It's chicken and egg though.
Yeah, it is.
Were they not eating well, so the nutrition will set them up for emotional stress?
So then they eat less well, or they, the digestive system is involved in stress. They quit eating altogether because they're not. And this applies to adults too. So
it does. So there's some physical consequences that go along with living a stressful life and not figuring out how to reorganize it, restructure it, and not have quite so much stress in your life. And so you're setting yourself up for things like depression,
is
anxiety,
that physical or not, but whatever it is, it sure
you can even develop personality disorders from an overabundance of stress. Cardiovascular issues we're going to cover in a little bit more detail, but the heart is
I want to talk
doesn't
about
handle
that one
stress very well. Overweight, being obese, you set yourself up for that. Stress, you have a hard time losing weight when you're stressed. Stress sets you up for hormone issues, including infertility.
Oh, yes, it does.
There's a variety of issues like hair and nails.
There's not a system of the body
that's not affected by stress.
Down when you let
your digestive system, your gastrointestinal problems can all be caused by stress. Heartburn and ulcers are often triggered by stress. If you have flare-ups of asthma and arthritis, acne, psoriasis, athlete's foot, these are all caused by stress too. Yes, Mom, that was truly you. I've been fighting another round of athlete's foot.
I was trying to PowerPoint a picture of athlete's foot. She told me I could take a picture of her foot.
Yep, I'm currently living with my foot in no more a couple times a day.
I did shingles and bronchitis as a result of my stress. I'm done. Time to take a break.
No, we never did a blog on shingles. Maybe we could be safe doing that one now because we've
done that. Well, you don't need a round of that. So
no, I just did a little one.
Let's talk about the heart and stress. Study after study has shown that various kinds of heart issues are tied to stress, but one of the ones that got me, 1977, Journal of the American Medical Association, they were talking about how stress triggered a drop in the blood supply to the heart, sufficient enough to increase the risk of heart attack. And they went on to say that in 55%, I can't see my note there, but of patients that report in with a heart attack, they have none of the stressors that you would think of, cigarette smoking, pure stress has triggered their heart attack in more than half of the cases. I have a heart condition and I've had it for years and it troubles me little unless I'm under stress. Then I notice a drop in my energy. I notice an increase in, blood pressure and things. So stress and the heart, what does I think of 55% or more of people have none of the physical factors of risk for a heart attack and still have one.
But there have been studies that they've shown that women who involve themselves in stress management programs they'll live significantly longer. It does work. So essential oils for us have been kind of that program. When we feel stressed, we examine our emotions a little closer and we pull out an essential oil that will help. And it works. You feel differently about the situation or about the stresses in your life 15, 20 minutes after you've diffused an essential oil.
There are some of those oils, when I'm racing and I got people, because there's people always in my life because of the way the business is. But so a solitude oil diffused makes me feel like I'm alone.
I teach a class. We travel all over and we teach this class, and it's just an hour-long Dr. Mom first aid class that I teach all the time. And one of the things that I tell women is to not be so stressed out about what oil to use and picking the perfect oil. Pick something and use it. And stress is a perfect example of this. There are so many essential oils that are going to help emotionally. Any essential oil is going to help emotionally. It doesn't matter what oil you grab. If you grab an oil, and then when you're in a little bit less stress, then figure, okay, what would have been a better oil, and use that one next time. I have 3 or 4 that are my go-tos. And then if I'm stressed in a different way than I've been stressed, I will look up and find a little bit better one, but I have my go-to stress oils.
And the thing about alternative and natural products is they bring the body back into stasis. And so you can even use Revitalize, which you would use to increase energy levels if you were tired, will actually help center you and relax you from stress. It's just the way it works.
Yep. I think one of my go-tos is typically Tranquility.
Even peppermint will do that. Too much peppermint excites you, and just a little bit actually calms
my
you.
Black Mitchin peppermint that it smells like chocolate. That's one of my favorites.
It's going to become a favorite.
I love that one.
Just got
so
that one.
there are some stresses and things in our life that we can change if we acknowledge, that's me, and I probably need to work on that. Constant interruptions and a frantic pace of life, trying to do too much. Sometimes we just need to look at our life and go, okay, I can't do all of this, and prioritize and knock the bottom ones off.
I solved that in my life. I moved my office from the middle of my big room where the employees come and go and the grandchildren run and go. Thought I wanted to help tend the grandchildren.
Yep.
I moved it to the back of my house in a quiet little bedroom with a door that closes. My goodness.
Sometimes we forget she's there, or we think she's not, and she gets a whole bunch done.
Oh, or they come to the door and it's putting off vibes of knock on that door and you're dead,
Sometimes we just have unrealistic expectations, and we think we can do a whole bunch more than we can, and then when we get in the middle of it and it's taking longer than we think it should, and that can be really, really stressful. So expecting too much from yourself, sometimes we need to learn to be realistic.
I always have an unrealistic expectation of what I can get done. So.
And then regret. Sometimes we wish that something had been different, and we can't change it anymore. So sometimes we just need to love ourselves anyway and accept that, next time if I ever had to do that again, I'd do it differently, and it's
maybe it would turn out worse.
But it's we just have to forgive ourselves and move on. So constantly arguing and discords, that causes a lot of stress, and
an increase of stress hormones it'll smack your immunity, and I'm living proof of that this last few months.
So sometimes we just need to use essential oils to be more patient.
Or just take a little break, get
breathe.
in your car, go for a 20-minute drive, downwind, however that works for you.
One thing that I discovered, and this is just probably off topic, but my husband and I made this promise to ourselves that we'd never go to bed on an argument. And this lasted for about a year. And then I looked at it one night and I said, you and I are both just too tired, and this won't look nearly this bad in the morning. And that whole not going to argue, not going to go to bed on an argument went out the window. And sure enough, the next morning, it's like, do we even still need to talk about this? No, we could sit up all night arguing about it. We were tired. We were both of us on edge and nervous. And we just, at a certain point, you just have to give up.
When someone is unrealistically upset,
they're tired,
walking away. I've heard that too. Don't go to bed on an argument.
No, gave that one up.
No, make an appointment and talk about it later.
If we're still upset about this tomorrow, we'll talk about it, but we're okay and we're going to sleep.
Yep.
That's okay.
It always made me mad that my husband could go to sleep when I was upset at him, but I've decided it's probably a defense mechanism that he uses very well.
Yeah.
So,
one thing, we get a lot more women that listen to us than men, I think, and it is important for women to understand that we have to take care of ourselves. In order to take care of other people, we have to have a full pitcher to pour from. And so it's okay to take downtime for you. Even if other people are still working, and just look at yourself and say, I started before them, or I'll get more done tomorrow. If you need some downtime, you got to take it. That's just the way it is. All right. Another thing that women are really fighting nowadays, especially me, is balancing your career around your family and your other responsibilities. Sometimes we just try to do too much.
She's my go-to person when I'm overwhelmed, which is.
But I like my job.
One thing, though, just a minute. One thing you kind of skipped over. We don't watch a lot of television, movies and stuff, but I'm always surprised, even to turn on the radio, how much we are bombarded by drug advertisements telling us how all the pills we need, all the things we could possibly be dying from, constant.
Yeah.
And more than that, even we hear about every little earthquake, every little everything, every little disruption, every little all around the world now. And I have a book that I dearly love called The Gift of Fear. Gavin de Becker says, imagine a mother in Bosnia trying to protect herself and her children. She hasn't got time to worry about most of the things that Americans stress themselves out about.
That's true.
And that put it in perspective for me. Why am I worrying about that? In the long run, it impacts nobody's health or well-being in any way, shape, or form.
Vicky says, dang, I'm late. Don't worry. The whole thing will be rewatchable on YouTube. And so far, we've just been seeing the stresses of
stressing
of
you out by
stressing
telling
you
you how
out.
many ways you can stress.
And why it is important to use essential oils to de-stress, but really how important it is to figure out if your kids are overstressed. I have a 4-year-old who stresses everything. This child, she worries about all of it. And I've had to teach my kids not to put scary movies on for her and to think about the movie. What is scary to them and what is scary to a 4-year-old are two totally different things. And after a certain time of day, she is only allowed to watch certain really happy movies, because otherwise she's going to be stressing and worrying, and she will come back at it in a way that we never saw coming. Mom, her worst fear, or the one that is I can't seem to get rid of it no matter what I do, is she's afraid that I'm going to grow a mustache. And this is a constant. We talk about this all the time. Mom, I dreamed about it again. You're gonna grow a mustache, and we can't seem to get that one to release.
Where did that come from?
I don't know where she has picked this up, but she is truly stressed about her mother growing a mustache. Maybe that turns me into a monster. I have no idea.
Many years ago, I was doing a sewing project with a friend, and we'd put a movie on for my youngest daughter in kind of it was kind of a joint family room. And it was one of the little Disney ones, you would have thought just fine. And next thing I know, this little chair is scooting across the floor closer and closer and closer to me and I thought, who would think that she would be that frightened by a Disney
It's amazing
movie?
The things that stress them out, and video games can be extremely stressful. One thing that we need to recognize, there's a pattern that some of us have, and I think all of us have had at some point in our life or not, is where we like drama, we like stress, and we like to worry, and our amount of stress we kind of celebrate it, and it gives us something, and that is a pattern that we have to recognize in ourselves.
If
and
we run out of
realize,
time to actually help somebody, we think if we worry about them, that will show them that we love them.
well, or
it's not doing them any good.
my brand of this has been, I have all these things on my plate, I'm so stressed I can't, and that's my signal to everybody around me that you can't give me anything else, because see, look how stressed I am already, and I'm really not that stressed. But if I come across that way, then nobody will give me any more.
I'll bear that in mind as I
Yes.
dump more on your head this week.
So, but you realize that stresses out the people around you. And if you're not really stressed and they don't really need to jump up and help you to unload your stress, then why are you stressing them out? And then some people, I'm not going to name names, but there are people who will use their stress as an adrenaline rush. They're junkies, and they're stressed. They overstress when they don't need to. And so understanding the way that stress affects our bodies and how badly it hurts us, and breaking these cycles within ourselves is hugely important. And essential oils are an awesome way to do that, as well as flower essence, which is why we didn't leave them off at the end of this.
One thing,
broadcast.
and this is kind of personal, and you can skip over this if
goody.
you want, but years ago, in a very stressful time of my life, a dear friend told me that if I would stop the mind chatter, I wonder what that child is doing. I wonder where he is. I wonder what's going, if I would learn to pray continually instead of fretting, say, ask heaven, where my child is, what he needs. If there's something I can do as his mother, let me know, and I'm going to jump right up and do it. In the meantime, I'm going to go to sleep. I found that to be a profound thing. I often received little notes from heaven, little inspirations as to what needed to be done when I stopped fretting and calmed my soul to listen. That has helped my heart a lot from racing.
So some common stressors and some areas where you can use essential oils. If you're unhappy with your job, maybe you can go out and get a new one. Maybe you can't, but maybe diffusing an essential oil at work would help your job not be so menial or so unhappy. Maybe there's an essential oil that would help.
One of the lists of stress that when I was doing some thinking and studying, a lot of people are stressed by a stressful job, but a monotonous same thing every single day,
there are people that feed on that,
almost as stressful as the others.
Spice oils actually help with that. If you have a job where you are doing the same menial thing over and over, repetitive, I should say menial, because I don't know that it's menial, but if it's repetitive and you get bored with it, spices can really help with that. There's a spice blend. Housewarming would probably be my favorite for that. Okay. Having to give speeches and presentations really stresses some people out. It doesn't stress me out. It doesn't bother me. but it does make me talk really fast, which she thinks is because I'm nervous, and it's not.
She just has so much she wants to tell you.
So, but giving a talk in church, now that stresses me out. And Tranquility was my go-to oil. When I had to give a talk in church, I wore it as a perfume that day because I was really stressing it. I don't know why, but after I got up there and did it, and I'm like, I could do that again. And I don't know why I was.
The last time I remember stressing about a talk in church, I was 11, and it was stake conference. And yeah, that's not my problem.
Sometimes when we have to work long hours, that's a time to remember
Yes.
your essential oils. And my number one for that is peppermint. If I'm putting in some extra hours and I'm tired, peppermint. And it doesn't matter which one, but Black Mitchum's definitely my favorite because they
See,
might as
for
well
me,
smell chocolate. too.
IQ is the one that
IQ
brings- and
helps
it's
you.
not even listed in, but that's the one that helps me sort what needs to be done, stay alert till I can actually put it down.
Yep.
That's
Okay,
fine.
life in
So-
general can throw situations at us that are overly stressful, and times that you might want to remember oils would be when you lose a loved one.
And when someone
grief.
else around you does, I like to
Yes.
send out sample bottles of Heart Song to people who lose a child or a spouse. It makes
If I go to a
major
viewing, I'm going to
difference.
wear Heart Song.
You bet, absolutely.
Talk in church. Oh my, makes me want to go to church. Well, the next time I talk in church, I'll make sure and let you know. I think I
You
mentioned it in
go.
the live before I did it that I had to talk in church. I was talking on state conference, and as soon as they asked me to talk about it, I said, "Did you go to state conference?" I said, "Yeah, I did." They said, "Well, we talk about it next week." And I'm like, "What did they talk about?" And I drew a complete blank, and I usually take notes, but I hadn't. So it was a good thing that my neighbor did. She brought him over and said, "This might jog your memory," but it was all right.
This one here,
It's great.
loss of a job, but the one getting married, that
Oh,
one cracked
that
me
one
up.
is stressful.
My husband and I were engaged for just a little over 3 years
Oh,
because of this mission in the
Yeah.
middle. But I really thought that was the happiest day of my life. And years later, I went to
Stressful.
an energy class, and they were doing this testing the stressful years of your life, and landed right smack on that one. And I thought, even
It is.
sometimes the good things in our lives can create stress.
because there's so much change that comes with it. My favorite oil for that is Sago Lily. And it just is. Sago Lily should be diffused the entire time you're planning it. You should be wearing it. It should be diffused for that first week afterwards.
Yeah, diffuse it with your mom and your other people helping plan your wedding.
New homes. Okay, chronic illness. And chronic illness is definitely a time to diffuse oils. And everyone's going to have a few different ones, but my number one for this would be Fortitude. Fortitude has some
Life Force.
amazing oils in it. It's actually a blend of blends, and it hits so many different areas, but it helps with that I've been sick forever and I'm going to be sick forever that comes along with
The
chronic illness
acceptance of
sometimes.
it, yeah.
Yep.
And don't forget the person taking care of that sick person. The statistics on immune disorders and autoimmune disorders hitting the caregiver, they hold themselves together till that situation is over or resolved, or it never resolves or whatever, but their likelihood of going down with an autoimmune disorder is off the charts high.
So you
So
got to remember
We
to
need to take
of
care
yourself.
of the caregivers, and caregivers need to take care of themselves.
Yep. All right. So sometimes after we get through this point, you read this and you're just like, wow.
Okay, I'm so stressed I
live
can't
here.
breathe.
So if this is you, just take a couple deep breaths. We all have stress. Stress is part of life, is part of growth. And essential oils are great. We're gonna actually start talking about different essential oils.
There's no way you're going to
for
remove
this.
all the stress from your life. The
Nope.
alternative is obvious. You got to find
Deb?
a way to manage your stress.
life-
Been a few times
stress
lately,
is
I've wondered
part
if
of
I have to live to be as old as my dad. I'm just not
I
gay.
don't want to. I can do it if I can do it as healthy as he has.
I have a 94-year-old father that he's younger.
He
than
runs
I
as
am.
fast as we do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Back up just a little.
Oh, something you saw you wanted to make
Time
sure.
for a
covered?
change. You want to change. I just had a little story I wanted to tell, and I won't name names, but
Okay.
a person I knew many years ago went down at a very young age with it. It wasn't a heart, or it was, but it was a stroke sort of situation. And as part of the management team, after they had his wife and him attend stress management classes. And I got the biggest kick out of it because the young man was taking furious notes about how to manage stress. And his wife, he's stressing out, getting all the notes down. But his wife was sitting there going, doesn't everybody do that?
Doesn't
Doesn't everybody do that? And I looked at the two personalities. She gets just as much or more done than he did, and excelled in college, excelled at, she's just as productive.
She doesn't stress.
Manages stress. And that was such a lesson to me.
Take one thing, focus on it, integrate it into your habits, and then pick the next one.
And then pick the next one. Good advice. Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to start with essential oil singles. This is a little different. Typically we talk mostly blends and then a few singles.
Do it backwards.
And I have to remind you that if you have other companies that you use, if you've purchased Plant Therapy or doTERRA or Young Living, and we talk about a blend that is specific to butterfly because that's what we use. Don't forget there's a cross reference and you can check to see if you have a blend that's similar to that already.
We just hate to see people.
Don't go
get up sales, but we don't want you having spent thousands of dollars on oil and then
essential oils are an investment.
Use what you have.
Yep. Yeah. If you've invested in essential oils, use up what you've got, and we'll help you cross them over.
We'll even help you do that.
But for once, we're actually going to talk about quite a few singles, and that's because florals, in their very nature, are de-stressors. That's what they are. They help with physical pain and emotional stress. They help with nervous tension, and that's just the way that florals are.
I have to interject here that I made a little note there saying I tried to limit the number of oils I put in this blog. Did poorly. Yeah.
We're going to have to cover them quickly because there's a lot of them. Any of the camomiles, and I think Butterfly has 3, if I remember. They have an Egyptian, a Roman, and a chamomile, and any of the camomiles are amazing.
Especially for children.
And if you have a different chamomile from a different company, that's probably just fine. Chamomiles can be all the florals can be a little bit pricey with the exception of lavender. So yeah, chamomile can definitely be up there. It can be a little bit pricey, but it's amazing for
it
creating
takes
that.
So little.
Yeah.
We didn't
a tiny bit
mention
goes
this
one,
ways. But someone in a class yesterday put 2 drops of jasmine on her forehead for whatever reason. And in my great big 50 by some odd teaching room, you could smell her the rest everywhere. Of the day.
Yeah, the florals are very potent, but they create that atmosphere of peace. Chamomile it's just so relaxing. Chamomile's not my favorite aroma. It's probably not the one that I would pick, but it's well known for it. I mean, you know the way chamomile makes you feel. We don't even have to tell you. Chamomile has been touted as a relaxing oil for so long on the aromatherapy market that
Yeah.
So lavender is it a sedative? But it's also a nervine, and it can help with a panic attack and anxiety. It can even be a good one for hysteria. I have a teenager who's doing hysteria.
Is it manipulation or she really is?
And that's what I've been trying to decide whether it was hysteria or manipulation. What I finally decided is that it
doesn't matter.
It's nutritional. And so that child has just changed the way she eats.
Oh, yes.
Uh-huh.
Mental fatigue, though, the other end
lavender.
of it, lavender, all of these oils that are for calming us are also for the fatigue that comes from running too fast for too long. So
one thing about lavender, though, is that sometimes if the stress has caused a headache, we've been writing this headache blog and we've got it into 14 parts. And so headaches can be structural, they can be hormonal. I mean, we know these things, but if the headache is stress, lavender can actually often break that headache. Yeah. So this is a really cool comment. I got to show it.
Okay.
She says that she really appreciates what we're sharing. So
thank you. I need some appreciation today.
That was cool. Thank you, Justine, I think is how I said. All right. My favorite flower oil of all is rose. And I like that she refers to it as the queen of flower oils. It really is. And I have had the same little teeny tiny bottle of rose oil for over 20 years. It's not one that you buy multiple times. It is pricey and a sample will do it. I don't diffuse rose. I open it and I smell it. And that is all that it takes. It smells absolutely nerves, vascular and urinary system.
And oddly enough, I do not like rose.
No, she's not a rose person, but I'm a rose person.
Never. I'm more of a wood. So it's.
And the Rose Auto that they got is beautiful, but the Rose Absolute, which is a third, is being freaky. So hopefully.
Are we still up, people?
We are, yeah. It still says end broadcast, but it definitely blipped on us.
It blipped on us there for
so
just
hopefully we don't lose everybody. If we do, in the event that the broadcast, we will cut the two together at the end and put it on YouTube as one piece.
Okay.
All right.
That's her stress, not mine. Yeah.
I don't
play with this.
It doesn't stress me out at all. Okay. Patchouli is especially suited to people with strong constitutions who rarely pay attention to their health. They just go.
Until they go,
Yep.
drop.
And
you know.
typically they're pursuing their material goals, and then eventually they just collapse.
I have to tell you a story about patchouli.
This is me.
After my husband got burned, I would use patchouli on his skin, so I often smelled like patchouli, which is an oil I can live with but don't particularly love. I walked into a gas station one day, and the attendant just came over the top of the thing. I was trying to give you my credit card,
Yeah.
Oh, you smell like patchouli. He's grabbing my shoulders, pulling me. Okay, fine. Remind me not to go out in public smelling like patchouli.
Patchouli helps you achieve balance in your lives, and it so that you're not running faster than you have strength. And patchouli is an interesting scent. It's floral, but it also to me has a little bit of a wood
It
smell.
has a woody smell. That's why I like it.
I like it, yeah. And it helps to prevent the reoccurrence of that pattern of running faster than you have strength. So patchouli, I really like patchouli. It's definitely not my rose, but I like patchouli.
And Melissa, there's rather expensive oil, although Butterfly has a source that
fairly
keeps it
decent reproduction of it, and they
Yeah,
have
well,
the pure,
we
they have a
the pure, we
rectified,
have a
and then they have
rectified.
a blend that they've kind of made to do the same thing as Melissa, but it is
Actually, it was
definitely a
Madeline
blend.
that made that blend.
Ah.
Our little French lady
So-
that we love.
Melissa is for people who are easily upset, and it's typically because
Hypertension, heart
of trauma.
palpitations. I love this
there's
one.
usually a trauma in their past and that is easily triggered. They try to hold their feelings in to prevent an argument, and they express feelings of anger and hurt. To them, that's scary. They don't want to do that. They'd rather just hold on to it. They repress that fear and anger.
I'll have to
rather
think
than
about that.
feel it.
All I know is when my heart gets racing, Melissa oil is. If
You've always had that
Vitality
tendency.
doesn't fix it, Melissa oil will. So.
Yep. Okay, so that's the florals. Now we're going to talk woods, which patchouli,
Yes.
in my opinion, I mean, it's made from the flower of the plant, so it is a floral, but it
It's
fits
flower
into
and-
this woody
flower
category
and
too.
twigs, so it kind of crosses the.
And we're not
Oh.
getting, sandalwood is her all-time favorite oil, so I'll let her
Well,
talk
it
about
was
this.
until we got the osmanthus.
Osmanthus.
Osmanthus,
Which is a
a
floral.
floral, which is odd that I love it.
And I'm not all that fond of it, so
Yeah,
here we go.
Sandalwood
Wood person,
is my
floral person.
all-time favorite oil. It settles my my dust better than anything else. So
It has a cousin, Palo Santo, which is also they have a lot of the same properties. I actually prefer the smell of Palo Santo to sandalwood.
I love sandalwood. It's Sharon and I both. It's like when we're pouring sandalwood, if a drop gets anywhere, we rub it all over. It's
Yep.
just, inner strength when you're facing a challenge of any kind. It comes directly from Palo Santo. Comes directly from the heartwood of the oil.
Of the plant, and that's
And
what
those
it
two
affects.
oils are definitely my stabilizer.
Yep.
I have a sandalwood in my drawer in my bedroom that I've had for almost 20 years. And sandalwood is an oil that the more it ages, the better it gets, as long as it isn't exposed to light and air. And I love that sandalwood. it's
So
my oil.
your pines and your spruces, they're conifer oils, and conifers are noted for their ability to keep their needles in times of cold. They're evergreens. That's what they're known for. And that's really what they help with. Their stability, their grounding oils. And
They are.
They are, I love the pines. I mean, there are times, especially in the winter,
Pines
when
and
I'm stressed out and I just want to go camping. And when I realize, I catch myself saying that or thinking that, I will diffuse a pine or a conifer oil because it's that smell of the mountains that I'm missing.
Copaiba balsam. We don't think of it, but it is a balsam. Is
balsam
a form
fir.
of it's a fir.
Yep.
It's an amazingly grounding oil. I like it almost as well as sandalwood.
The other time to grab your spices, or
Or
your
your
pines and
woods.
your spruces, your wood oils, is when you are being difficult or hostile, and you catch it, like yourself. It's like I just want to pick a fight with somebody. That's when you.
That's when I like sandalwood.
That's when you want your wood oils.
Huh?
Yes. Okay, the spice category. This spice oils, and spices are a subcategory. They fit into somewhere else. They're either a wood or they're a leaf,
or they're,
but they're a spice. And spice oils contain a lot of minerals, which is so it's that type of stress that's brought on by a mineral deficiency. That's the type of things that spice oils help with. And there are a couple of blends that we have done that are high in spice oils and help with that mineral absorption. And I'd probably be more likely to grab them than an actual spice oil because spice oils are very strong and blends are safer to use.
Most people wonder why you're running around smelling like
That blend that
like
I
a
would use is
particular
Eternity. Eternity is amazing.
Yes, Eternity. is.
But really quick though, thyme is often thought of and used for emotional work, especially if you're protecting the heart from stress. So if you are someone who works on other people and time keeps testing up, that's why. Marjoram is for those people who obsessively worry and their negative thoughts circle around in a pattern.
I like marjoram in literature, in herbal thing, herb of happiness or joy of the morning. It's one for returning you to remember what's good rather
I like
than
this question.
what's stressing you.
Is diffusing better than application on the body for stress? Now that depends on what you're trying to do. Typically, and it depends on the oil. A lot of times I will apply it to the body because I'm in and out of the house. I'm from room to room, or I'll diffuse it because I need it. Then I'll get in the car and go somewhere. That doesn't do me any good. So I'll put it on my body so that wherever I go, it goes with me. Eternity is one that I will typically diffuse anyway. And the reason is because I want everybody in my house to get the benefits of it. So it depends on what I'm trying to accomplish. Am I trying to just change me, or am I trying to get, is my teenager throwing a fit?
Before he joined me in this oil business, used to accuse me of wearing the oil he needed and hugging him more frequently.
Yes.
That used to work quite well, actually.
It really doesn't matter, but if you're trying to benefit the most people, putting it on yourself and being around them, or diffusing it,
something like what's the Unity was the one I used to.
Heart Song is my favorite oil for grief, and I will put it on me to go to a viewing so that everyone can enjoy it.
Absolutely.
But if I were just home, I could diffuse it instead of wearing it. It's a mute point. So, all right. So marjoram we kind of covered a little bit. Marjoram is known as an herb of happiness, which is an interesting note. That's what the Romans call it, joy of the mountains,
though,
to the Greeks.
I know they're, sparingly during pregnancy, it does have some uterine effects. So be a little careful with that one. That doesn't mean don't diffuse it or don't use it. It just doesn't mean don't slather yourself with it 14 times a day.
The spices I would probably be more likely to diffuse than to wear just because they are so caustic. But marjoram, I'm a horticulture major in college, so marjoram was known as the herb of happiness to the Romans, and it was known as joy of
the morning,
joy of the mountain to the Greeks.
Yep.
So that's it is an oil of happiness. It's an herb of happiness, and some people grow it just so they can go outside and smell it. Okay, but it is definitely a sparingly, especially during pregnancy.
Be careful.
I'd be careful with all the spice oils during pregnancy.
I would too.
In fact, when I'm pregnant, I tend to stick to blends.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. With the rare exception of lavender, maybe lime or lemon. Yeah. The citruses are
clary sage.
This is definitely one to avoid when you're pregnant.
Well, for sure.
It's a hormonal stress.
And the description will make you think of it, but it's when you're overtired or when you become oversensitive when you're tired, tend to weep or find fault with people.
It's
an
also
amazing oil, but it's
one for people who tend to continually choose the wrong kind of friends.
Yep.
If that is a pattern you see in your life, clary sage is a great oil for you, just not when you're pregnant.
Well, you can use it but you got to be real careful with it.
All right, there's some miscellaneous ones that didn't really fit into any of these categories.
We wanted to talk
frankincense is a resin. It's the only resin we really want to talk about, but frankincense is amazing. It's a great anxiety oil, especially if that anxiety and stress is followed a death of a loved one. You never did stress, you never did anxiety or panic attacks until after that person died, and then you got this period of time where you're doing it. Frankincense is great for that. Free Rihanna
is more flowery, which is odd because I like it better than Carteria as far as aroma. But I was smelling frankincenses with somebody Monday, and I'd forgotten how much I like Sacra.
It doesn't matter. If you have a frankincense, any one of them would be great. Free Rihanna is slightly better for this particular application, but any of the frankincenses you already have would be fine.
Yeah.
And then the other two we want to talk about are citrus oils. And citruses, I like to refer to them as little bottles of sunshine. That's what they are. I need to sneeze.
Lemon, mandarin is, I distinguish mandarin and orange because mandarin seems like dwelling on past emotional stress. Whereas orange just kind of replaces your optimism and your sense of humor, and you can look at life. I love to clean the fronts of my cupboards and things with orange just for the uplift.
And we're saying orange sweet, but really any of the oranges, orange bitter, orange dark, orange blood, any of the oranges. Orange sweet is by far and away the best.
It's cheapest, so that's why I clean my cupboards with
I just did a little video on orange bitter, and orange bitter is not bitter. It doesn't even smell bitter.
It's just made from the orange they call bitter orange.
Yeah, and it's a stupid name because it's actually tart and sweet.
Yes, it is. Yeah. It's lovely.
So,
lovely.
All right. Now we're on to our blends portion of this thing, and we love the blends. So
did we get carried away here? That was me.
Just a few.
I count on her deleting things. She didn't do well.
No, I didn't, because this is an amazing list.
Actually.
Yeah. So back when Butterfly Express only had about 40 blends, which was a long time ago, people would ask her to list her 10 favorites. And at 40 blends, she couldn't do it. Now there's over 150, there's about 100.
She told me I had to stop when I hit
150
100, but
singles.
now she blends more.
There's
so.
about 130 blends. And so this is a little bit more longer list, but we did keep, each one to about a paragraph. So hopefully
we won't keep you here.
We won't keep you here all day.
here.
Assurance is the first one, and it is for procrastination, feeling completely overwhelmed and not knowing where to start or what to do next. And so you don't do anything. You can't get started on it.
Enthusiasm to start a task.
That's what your insurance is.
I always have enthusiasm to start a task. It's the finishing I have a problem with. I want to go on to the next one.
Then there's benediction, and benediction has become famous as an energy protector when everybody around you stresses you out. And you can know that like a certain person calls you up and says, hey, I need to drop this by. And you're like, oh, I can't take that person right now. Benediction, that's your oil for that. It protects you and helps you maintain your boundaries.
If you have yourself or a child, a teenager that tends to blindly follow someone else or follow the crowd, benediction is an amazing oil to break that pattern. Diffuse it in the home, put on their pillow, do whatever you need to. So.
And we're going to be staying right on that same line of helping your children with the self-esteem type thing. If you have, how do I put this?
I don't know.
So Believe is an oil to help you to see your abilities, to see where you can go and what you can do and what would be appropriate to do and what would not. It's an oil for being optimistic. It also is a motivator. But it's really a confidence thing to help you have the ability to cope with the things that you need to be doing.
Believe in yourself.
Yep. Contentment and inner strength. It helps with intuition. Believe is a good one. And sometimes I get it out just for my teenagers. They're like, Mom, I got to do this, this, and this. And I don't know how, or so-and-so could do it better. You can do it just fine. Okay. The next one that we're talking about is Cherish. And this is a floral blend, very, very much a floral blend.
Which I love, which is odd.
And because she doesn't like florals except osmanthus. But this one has got your jasmine. It is a pricey one. It's not one that you're going to want to diffuse. It's one of those ones you buy a little sample of and smell here and there. I do
sample
diffuse
bottle
it
in my
occasionally.
purse has lasted me for 3 years.
Yep. And my husband loves this oil. I've actually never had any person ever smell this blend and not love it.
Like it.
Never. Even people are like, oh, I'm not real florals. I'm more of the woods and resins, and they love it. Emotionally, it is just.
And I'm sorry, I tried to blend
amazing.
It cheaper, but the only thing osmanthus wanted was jasmine and a little bit of frog rose.
So what Cherish does is it goes in and it fills your soul with a greater reserve of sensitivity and compassion. So you're not frustrated by everybody around you because you're like, you understand it. It's like an oil of empathy. It helps you to understand all the stresses other people are going through so that you're not so stressed out by their stress.
And I often will take this one with me to shows, because when you work a show, you stand in that booth for 2 or 3 days.
Oh,
every kind of emotional and health problem
comes
into your face, and they want help with it. And sometimes that can be, I used to
very tiring.
Benediction, but benediction protects me, but Cherish makes me sympathetic.
On that note, her and I are about to spend 2 days at the Salt Palace on Friday and Saturday. She's teaching a class. I'll be in the booth talking to people. And
taking my husband. He's so fun in a booth.
Yep. Come and visit with us. Ask us your questions. We've signed ourselves up for 2 days of this in Salt Lake City in the next 2 days. So we're excited. I just did one in Idaho Falls last weekend. And we say they're a lot of work and they're very stressful. You come home absolutely wiped out, but they're a lot of fun. And we like visiting with people and we like seeing people. And there's a good side to it too, but it is, and we've actually signed up for quite a few of these. How much does it matter where you put it or diffuse it? Just a quick question there, Nicole. Are we talking about Cherish here? I'm going to go
take the lid off and sniff it.
I'm going to go with the assumption that we are talking about Cherish. And a lot of times that is when I will just take off and diffuse. There are different types of diffusers on the market. There's ones where you can hook them right into the diffuser, and then you can set the diffuser
with Cherish.
to how often you want it to run and for how long of a break in between. I'd never put Cherish in that diffuser. It's too expensive.
If I put it on, it's strong enough. I mean, jasmine and osmanthus both float on the air very, very well. One tiny drop on the side of your neck, and people will be remarking on
about
that aroma for 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
You don't have to go through a lot of Cherish. That's
so
one of the beauties of floral.
I will use my Cherish if I'm going to diffuse it, which I don't very often because it's so pricey. I will put it in a water diffuser, and I will put 1 or 2 drops in a thing of water, and it'll diffuse for an hour or 2. And that's
I use a Scentsy candle warmer by my bed when I want to diffuse those expensive oils.
Says
1 or 2 drops is all it takes.
She says any oils. So depending on the oil will depend on how much I use. If I'm going to put lime in the air, lime is cheap and I just going to get that thing everywhere. I'm going to crank that diffuser up and lime's going to go everywhere. If I'm doing a spice or a wood, a little bit goes a long ways and I'll turn it down, dial it down,
Oh, and
or put it in a water diffuser.
do remember that you get adjusted to it. When my husband first started going with us to shows, we'd have a diffuser running and he would keep dumping oil into this rock water thing we had going. And there, Southtown Mall, you could go out in the hallway and smell it. You could, I swear, out on
Hopefully
the street.
it was lime or something innocuous.
And you know, honey, we can't smell the oil anymore.
You know? You don't. After 10 or 15 minutes, you get used to the smell, but the little molecules are still going up into your
people
olfactory.
Walking into that hall for the first time were getting wailed on.
That's funny. But the molecules are small and they're still going up into your sinuses. They're still crossing into that blood-brain barrier. They're still going everywhere in your body. Your body has adjusted to the smell.
A little's good, a lot's a lot better. Does not apply to essential oils.
Now, if you're putting an oil on, just because we're on the topic, you're going to use a carrier oil. Let's say for argument's sake that we're putting on a digestive oil, like Julia or Inside Out. I'm going to put enough coconut oil in my hand to cover the area, and then I'm going to add 1 or 2 drops of the oil. Now, if I got 5 or 6 that rushed out before I got the lid back on, that's okay. But 1 or 2 drops is going to do just as much as 7 or 8 or 10 or 12 drops is going to do. If that oil were breezy and I was putting it on my chest, I would probably get a paper towel, wipe it off. I don't want more than 2 or 3 drops of breezy. That one's a little strong. But Julia, I would just go with it. It just depends on the oil and how strong it is. And when you dump it out of the bottle, you'll get an idea for, oh, that's too much of that. 1 or 2 drops is your goal. Because oils are not the cheapest. Even the cheap ones aren't, cheap. If you can use 1 or 2 drops versus 7 or 8, you'll get 10 times more applications. So I try to just get a couple of drops.
All right.
It's funny. I seen you in Idaho Falls and I feel like I know.
She knows.
Well, you do. You just met me. Now you know me. I wish your profile picture was a little bigger so I could see
who you were. Yeah.
I met a lot of people in Idaho Falls. That was a fun weekend. Okay, so Everlasting. Oh, this is
another blend of blends.
This is the first original blend of blends when we realized that you could blend blends and get a huge range. It's very difficult to do. We've only done it twice, and we didn't even do it the second time. My husband did it. He's
amazing. With
energy. So Everlasting. This is a very high frequency oil, but it's blended with mid. Is that right? It's blended with mid to very high frequency ones, but it's a low frequency.
Millennia is that way
right.
too. They're pretty much
mid low frequency, which is odd because you've blended medium and highs together to get a low.
And yet it's profound at the emotional level. It is odd when you blend blends into blends. You get a whole new thing. So
it is one to really, really help you release negative emotions, clear down to that cellular level. So if the same type of traumatic past experience keeps coming up, and you think you've worked through it and you're just sure you're never going to see it again, and then there it is.
I love to diffuse this one in energy classes. The work moves so much better, and we're not doing the same thing next month too. It's like it's an amazing thing to use in an energy class.
Now we're going to flip around to the other side of a high frequency blend, and this was my favorite before Cherish, and it's still right up there with Cherish. It's a little on the pricey side too, but I love Expressions.
I created Expressions and I didn't even put it up for sale for several years because who would want to pay that kind of money for oil? But it had all expensive oils in it.
Like we say, though, just a little bit of a sample is amazing. So this comment, she says that her husband was with her and he was very impressed by you too. Well, that's awesome. Well, this is an interesting oil. That we're talking about. Expressions is actually the one that I use for communication. It is, especially in romantic relationships. So when my husband and I, if we're having trouble here or there, Expressions, so that we can express ourselves and we can communicate. It is most definitely an aphrodisiac. So there you go.
I told my husband the other day, I just really needed him to listen to me. Okay.
You should just got some Expressions.
We were going somewhere and we didn't want, just walking in the door. I realized all day Saturday that he spent a lot of time in that rocking chair there by the edge of the kitchen. He's waiting for me to.
All right.
No, I never did. I'd worked through. Poor man, he wasted half the day
trying to communicate.
Trying to communicate with me.
So the next one is Easy Traveler, and Easy Traveler has a reputation for being one for motion sickness.
But it's the emotional.
But it's the emotional side of it. It clears the emotions so that. But I'll take it when we go on a family trip.
Fear of whatever.
I actually have a daughter who used to get motion sickness. She doesn't anymore, but. We used to take this one everywhere we went. And if you're going to go to Carnival or theme park, it's a great one to throw in your purse. because rather it doesn't seem to matter. I mean, it definitely is an emotional oil, but it does help with the physical part of it too. So it's also a good one to help with ability to cope with the day's events and responsibilities. So Easy Traveler is a great one, and I love the smell of that one. It smells to me like bubble gum. I don't know why, but it smells like pink bubble gum. So there you go.
Good Night's an odd blend. It has a wood, a flower, and a citrus.
Yep.
It's what a combination to go across all of the different best emotional oils. I like
It's
I like
very
that one.
synergetic, and it's a
Restful
good one
sleep.
to help you fall asleep and for restful sleep. It's a good
Yeah.
one. It's also sometimes will help with children who are having bad dreams. If it doesn't, dreams typically will. It's one or the other. They seem to hit different emotional patterns. So one or the other. Typically, when someone's like, my kid's having bad dreams, I don't know why, I'll say, order a sample of both and see which one works, and then get the big one.
Get you a bottle of whatever.
Get you a bottle of
whatever
one that works. So grace is for fear that we are not enough, fear that we're not doing enough, fear that we're not good enough, because grace helps us to see our potential. Grace is an amazing oil for children
also
with
smells
learning
nice. It's
disabilities,
nice to
learning challenges, I should say.
Yes.
Grace is a great oil for that. It helps them to see themselves the way Heavenly Father does, and to recognize their challenges as challenges. They're not, doesn't mean they're broken. It doesn't mean that they're not good enough. It's their challenge. It's something for them to grow past and to help them
Another
to be who they can
good
be.
use for grace is for family members of a person who is final stages of some disease, they're going to lose that family member, and the fear of that loss can be overwhelming.
Yep.
And
It's a great one.
grace is my pre oil, and Heart Song is my after
Pre-grief.
the loss. Yeah, pre-grief oil.
Pre-grief, when you're already experiencing
I
the
love
grief.
grace for that. So
And Heart Song is our number one for depression, but it works really well with Tranquility for panic attacks and anxiety.
absolutely.
Kind of, I switch between the two. Tranquility to help the calming, and the Heart Song to help
Heart
calm me out of
Song, my
depression.
number one go-to for postpartum depression.
Yep.
Always was.
I like Baby Me too. So,
Yep.
But I'm typically using Baby Me anyway. I'm using it for diaper rash, and I'm using it for cradle cap, and so Baby Me is typically what I use. But anyway, all right. There's one, Letting Go, and this is a very interesting blend. It's not really, I couldn't call it a citrus one. I couldn't call it a floral one. It just is different.
I tend to blend that way, running across. I want a little bit of everything in there. And so I tend to blend, starting with a wood and winding up at the top with a citrus.
But it usually has, like, you could either, pinpoint it emotionally. It has more of these notes, more of those
More
notes.
of those
You can't
notes.
with Letting
You can't
Go.
with Letting Go.
Letting Go is just different, but it is a great one for letting go of emotions. It's a great one, especially for the release of anger. It is very much a liver oil.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
Liver and gallbladder, surprisingly enough.
But so we tend to throw Letting Go into that category and say that it's a liver oil and it's really great for letting go of anger. But you have to remember, it also helps us to let go of fear or grief,
which makes
or
it a
insecurity,
kidney oil,
or any emotion that's not serving us well. So it can help with any of those. If we're holding on to emotion and we're just refusing to let go of that emotion, we've been feeling it for a long time. We no longer need to feel it. We've learned what we need to learn from it, whatever, but we're still just holding on to it. Letting go can help us go, okay, we've done that, and let it go.
Yeah.
So, all right, Millennia. This one's interesting.
You skipped meditation.
Did I? Oh, I can't skip meditation. Sorry. Meditation's all yours.
Meditation's all mine.
Yes.
I like to do meditation when I'm studying, rather it be scriptures or rather it be a self-help book. I have a
I like
book
it
I
for-
keep going back to on resilience and, just
I like it for journaling. If I'm going to sit down and
Yeah.
write.
it makes a difference there. I love when I'm so frustrated that I'm going to pick up my pen and put it down, which has always been the way I deal with.
That's how you deal with stress.
Always did. Which worked fine until my husband and I swapped journals to read. But anyway, shortly after.
There you go.
But meditation helps me find clarity and that oil relaxes me as well as anything. But it's a different take on it. So now you can go after Millennia.
Millennia is known as a chiropractor in a bottle, and it has a very much a reputation for being structural and being physical, but it's not.
It's an emotional.
It's an emotional oil, and it is courage. It is courage in a bottle. That is.
I love it for little boys who've been
Yep.
told they have a learning disability. I can do
ADHD
this.
is
I learn differently than
particularly-
you do, but I can do this.
It's particularly helpful for ADHD. It's not. It's a little bit on the floral side, and so for a little boy to wear it to school can be hard. So we often
Put
We-
that on their feet
put
for
on
them.
their feet,
and-
put on
and
socks
It's on
and
our
shoes.
hands and on their feet.
Yep, and it does
They
just
get
what
the
it
aroma
needs
while
to.
you're putting it on, but they're not wearing it. One little boy told me he smelled like Ferdinand the Bull in his little patch of flowers.
And he didn't mind, and he didn't care if people teased him
He
about
didn't
it.
care a bit.
He's just like whatever,
Just take them on.
because he liked the way it made him feel. So.
Yep.
And then Sago Lily, and this is my all-time favorite blend. If you ever do come to one of our shows or you get the chance to smell this one, this is my favorite blend. It's the very first blend that I ever actually made, and it is Calm in a Crisis. It is my favorite bathtub oil.
Forgotten that you made that one.
I did.
When that massage.
Yep.
Yep.
Anytime that you're feeling anxious at all, Sago Lily is my favorite. It's one that sits by my bathtub, and if I have time for just a me time bath, Sago Lily
I haven't
is
used
my
that one recently. I'll have to
favorite
try
one.
that. Okay.
Yes. I have another comment. It says, something I learned from letting go on my 5-year-old is that you have to be prepared because those emotions will come out in their behavior, often negative. But supporting oil
Sometimes.
is good companion with letting go.
You might try Grace.
I like people who put us on the spot,
Yeah,
though.
you might try Grace.
Grace.
Grace was designed as a follow-up oil for other ones like Reconciliation. I would start there.
I was thinking Whispering Hope for some reason, too.
Whispering Hope, that would be another excellent choice. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd read about Whispering Hope and see. Maybe I'm just crazy up in the night, but that came to my head. All right. Solitude. And we talked about solitude a little bit as being an oil to just go off and have some de-stressing time for yourself.
That's mine. If I can't get away, I can at least go in my office, shut the door, and diffuse solitude or sanctuary.
Yeah.
One of those two will
and
calm me down.
solitude can be helpful for helping us to get to sleep sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great it just creates an atmosphere of peace and quiet.
And oddly enough, solitude is actually a good oil for vein health. So if you
I didn't know
have
that.
capillaries or any issue like that.
So I've noticed that there are people who don't handle alone time very well. I had a cousin who could not be
I
alone.
never get enough alone time.
And then there are people who they thrive on the
Crave
alone
it.
time.
Yeah.
And then there's me, and I like people. I feed off other people's energy. I do just fine with it. I need a
You're-
certain amount of alone
Your
time.
father's child.
And there are times in my life when I have needed a lot of alone time. So solitude is a way to get that alone time without being alone.
Yeah.
So
Works for me anyway. So
yeah. Sunburst. This is a citrus oil. So what does it mean? It's sunshine in a bottle.
yes, it is. That's why we called it Sunburst. Yeah.
This is the one that I use in my laundry because citrus oils are so good at taking away funky smells.
If you forgot to move the laundry from your
for
washer to your dryer, just rewash them with a few drops.
I
of
wash it with
Sunburst.
the citrus oils anyway.
Anyway, yeah.
So Sunburst is my number one. Occasionally something will get messed up and they'll have extra of a blend out here and I'll wash with that for a while and it becomes a cleaning oil because it's not good for anything else. But
Yeah.
for the most part, Sunburst is our go-to. at my
Sunburst
house.
is not a sedative oil. It's for brightening your outlook. It's not going to calm your nerves. That's
Yeah,
not what
it's got
for.
your lemon, your lime, all your favorite
All
citrus
your
oils
favorite
and
citrus
mandarins
oils are in
and
there. Yeah.
yep.
One of the
That's
few blends
wonderful.
I actually created that is predominantly in one family.
It's a citrus.
Is a citrus. This is a predominantly citrus oil.
Purify is has quite a few citrus ones too, but that's got the tea tree, and I don't
That
like
kind
the
of
smell of the tea
spoils
tree.
the aroma there, doesn't it?
But if you're truly, truly trying to disinfect, your Sunburst is going to be great. It's going to kill almost everything. And I will use it to wipe down my cabinets and scrub my floor. I'll throw it on my vacuum. But if I know that there's something truly, truly nasty lurking somewhere, I may switch to Purify instead. And I'm still going to get, the happy whatever, but I also get that disinfecting thing, which is totally off topic as usual.
I love it.
All right. We're down to just a couple though. So
Oh yes, we made it to the
we
teas.
might
We're
make it
good.
to under our hour.
tomorrow. You
Tomorrow.
leaving that one for me.
This one,
Okay.
I don't know why, but about 2 years ago, I pulled a list of oils that, like what the top sellers are for Butterfly Express. And this one was in the bottom 3 of their blends, and that really surprised me. Connection was another one, and I remember thinking those two are
some
so
of our favorite blends.
amazing. But unless you understand them, they're hard to describe. So
If
yeah.
you're worried about tomorrow, my husband gets
That's
fretting
what
about
tomorrow's
sales, or he
for.
gets fretting about, is it going to stop raining so the wheat will grow? Whatever it happens to be,
Next
tomorrow
month we've
is my go-to oil. For that.
decided to build a house, and how's that going to go? Or
Yep.
whatever in the future that's stressing you out, that is tomorrow. It creates a marvelous atmosphere where tomorrow we'll take care of
Yeah,
tomorrow.
it's one of my favorite blends. And I didn't realize it was one of those
It's
low
one of the low
sellers.
ones on the sales. So we sent
Mhm.
out 500 little free samples of it.
Aha.
And we heard from
Somebody
a
will
lot
have a brighter
of
tomorrow,
people
won't they?
that read about it and goes, how did you know this is exactly what I needed? I didn't. It's one everybody needs. But so yeah, that was an interesting little, I don't know, tomorrow is a great oil. All right. And then Tranquility, which we've already talked about several times.
I want to go back to tomorrow for just a
Okay.
minute. My husband was very ill for a very long time,
Hmm.
and I spent several winters wondering if I would keep him alive till spring. And as I got into essential oils, tomorrow was actually blended
for you.
for me to get me through January and February.
Yep.
The whole idea of, can I cope? If I end up coping with this on my own,
Can I do it?
can I do it? It was,
That's
and maybe
tomorrow.
that's why I don't talk about it often in shows. I'm starting to tear up
Because
right
she
now.
gets emotional.
And so maybe that's why it was never a good seller, because I never mentioned, I never talk about it.
It's not been widely publicized. Yes, but tomorrow is definitely one that you ought to have in your arsenal. Okay, Tranquility. This one is known to relax and relieve stress. It's the one for panic attacks. It's absolutely amazing, and yeah, it just helps us to deal with all of our dilemmas more easily. This is my one. If I'm not sure which oil I need for my particular type of stress, Tranquility pretty much.
I had
It's
one
a blanket for all of them.
employee years ago that doesn't work here anymore, so they haven't done it lately. But I would know when Boss Lady was getting too upset, because there'd be this little blue
Cotton ball.
It'd be a little cotton ball with Tranquility oil
Tranquility's
blue in it,
blue.
sitting in front of my keyboard. And I think, okay, shut your office door and send her down.
Somebody's feeling a little stressed.
Someone's feeling a little picked on by the boss.
Unity is one for group type situations where you know that every time this particular group of people gets together, there's a certain amount
You
of
should leave
stress.
it diffused in your house whenever you leave.
I should. This is my Thanksgiving oil.
Yes.
My family get together. Housewarming is another one that's really good.
I won't
for
even
that.
ask which side of your family.
Particular. I wasn't going to say. So there.
What a good! I used to diffuse it in my home school when we finally got into essential oils.
There you go. Unity balances the body, and it does it very quickly. It just balances all the meridians and all the chakras. And so if everybody's balanced, and it just eliminates stress. It's my group oil.
It's your
So that one I definitely wouldn't wear. I would diffuse it because I want everybody to get a little bit of unity. We're going to spend some time together. All right.
What was the last one down there? Vision.
Well,
We have Whispering Hope too. Okay.
And we're not going to make it under an hour because of the flower essences.
Oh, bother! But I want to cover.
But we at least want to talk about what they do.
They want. Yeah.
Okay. So vision is to help us see our own path more clearly when we're just not sure what we're supposed to do and where we're supposed to go. That's so hugely important. If you're stuck and you're like, we're all here to do something. We have things we're supposed to accomplish, people we're supposed to help. And if you don't know what your path is, vision can help you to find it.
And it can, when you can't make a decision, do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? You're flipping back and forth. Vision will help stabilize those emotions.
Overly tired and overly stressed. Vision is decisiveness. Okay. And then Whispering Hope, which was, I just said for the 5-year-old, but Whispering Hope is one that it literally whispers that there is hope, that it will be okay. It creates a positive atmosphere and just helps you to deal with stress because it just whispers that message of hope.
Yep. I like it. I named it for the song that my grandmother once loved to have me play for her. Whispering Hope.
One thing about Whispering Hope, though, is that it's particularly useful when other people's decisions are making you.
Yes. Other people's choices are causing you stress.
I had a lady blow by in Idaho Falls, and maybe it's this lady here, but I doubt it. Nope, it wouldn't be her because I didn't meet her husband. But anyway, she blows through and she says, I need an oil I just got off the phone with the ex-wife. And I don't know, I just reached out and grabbed Whispering Hope, jumped off the shelf at me, and I'm like, we should rename it ex-wife. Actually, I think I gave her this one and Tranquility, and we had a good laugh about it. But it's amazing. So Tranquility, Whispering Hope are my two that I will grab for a blanket stress type issues. All right, really quick before we get into flower essences, let's take a couple minutes and explain to them what a flower essence is, which means we're going to have to explain what a blessed water or homeopathic is, and we're going to have this little 5-minute. I want to take a pause and breathe because I'm going to make April cut this and put it in appropriate places. So
how long do you want me to pause and breathe?
Okay. Blessed waters, or commonly referred to as homeopathics, they're interchangeable, pretty much the same thing. And then flower essences fall under that category, as do your gem essences, your range of lights, Bach flowers. All of those they're in the same type of a thing. And so
Flower essences are made differently.
they
though.
are made differently.
They're made by taking the flower petals themselves, putting them in mountain spring water, and literally sitting them in the sun. They
to absorb the
and
energy.
they're amazing emotional life changers. They're just, I love them so well that I
They
used to have
are
the
great.
36 Bach flower essences, and then we got all the North American ones.
And there's
then we
104.
we have a lot of these.
There are a lot. So, but a
the
basically,
Sierra Mountain Range ones.
in just a minute or two, a homeopathic works on an energetic level. It is an energetic liquid that goes in and changes things on an energetic level. They are fascinating little
The flower
things.
essences are so subtle, though. With the
Flower essences are subtle.
homeopathic or blessed water, you often feel the change. It's like,
Mm.
oh my. But a flower essence, it's like you look back and it's
I don't feel that way anymore.
well, and it's not even that you remember that you feel that way. The change is so subtle that it's almost as though you don't even feel it happening to you. If your problem was discouragement, your personality just moves towards sunny, and it's even hard. There's no guilt with a flower essence because it's almost hard to remember that you were ever there.
Whenever there's an unresolved disagreement in my house, either between me and my husband or me and my kids, something we can't talk out, we will I'll test each of us for a flower essence, and it is amazing how your perspective changes.
Yep.
They're absolutely amazing. And typically, if you test for them, they will test up, and you'll get 6. You'll make one that is
6 at the same
particular
time.
ones.
So.
But they are
They're worth
absolutely
studying. I was
fascinating.
just told I'm teaching a homeopathic class in July. We'll talk
Oh.
about these in depth.
All right, we're actually teaching a bunch of classes this fall. We're starting over on the foot zone. We're starting over on the chrysalis.
I've kind of taken a bit of a break and haven't done so much, so I guess
So.
I'm getting back in.
And we're doing an herb class in July, so we're having a good time with classes. Anybody wants to come take a class? But flower essence is really quick. Aloe vera is for people who burn the candle at both ends. They start early, they work late, and they just run.
Burnout is going to be inevitable.
Yep.
So whether they're there yet or just heading for it.
Aloe vera we'll test up for those people.
Yeah.
I say test up, but you can take these without having them tested up for. If you don't muscle test, we do have a blog on muscle testing and on kinesiology, which you can check out if you want to learn to muscle test. But these are so subtle and such low potency ones that you can actually just take them.
You're never going to do yourself
If
harm.
you think that's something that you need, you can take it. And it's not a big deal. They do sell them in sets, and I think they're $4 a piece. They're not overly expensive little things, and they're amazing. So Canyon, and I'll never say this word, Dadleia, is for people who become upset, agitated, and hysterical.
And this,
if they're
for me,
overstimulated.
a child one, those children that run until they're so tired, but they're so wound that they cannot sleep.
Sleep eludes them. That's part of their picture. Chamomile is for people who emotionally tense and they just feel overwhelmed.
And the way you can tell a chamomile personality is they get clingy when they're not usually.
And they hold their stress in their stomach or in their solar plex.
Yep.
So
cherry plum, so overwhelmed, they're afraid they're going to lose control. Or maybe they just did. They're shouting at everybody.
Maybe they
inside,
just did.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Loss of control is cherry plum.
Corn can be for people who
corn is for city dwellers who were born rural.
They should be living in the country.
They need dirt, and all they can find is concrete and walls. It's an odd one, but
that's definitely a strange one. But it can be stressful if you need to live in the city for your job, and that's where you need to be. But you would be much happier living in the country. Corn. Yeah. Okay, cosmos. If unfocused.
The key to cosmos is usually a speech thing. So
speech pattern.
People who maybe have a little bit of a stutter or struggle for words when they're under stress, cosmos is the one for that. Stress unfocuses them to the point that even their speech patterns are compromised. So
dill is an interesting one. As an herb, it's a stabilizer. It stabilizes blood sugar.
Yeah.
Even just smelling the essential oil can help with people who do hyperglycemia, headaches. And blood sugar headaches. It can help diabetics to stabilize. It's interesting. But as a flower essence, it's for too much excitement and too much stimulation.
And the keynote of it is becoming tense when you're starting a new project.
Which is
I used a lot of dill, both as an oil and as a flower essence. Pregnant women
will crave dill pickles. I hate dill pickles.
She hates dill pickles.
I like dill essential
oil.
But
she doesn't mind new projects either. So
that would be true.
But pregnancy is that's a pretty good
New
undertaking
project.
for a new project.
Yes, I would say that it is.
It always amazed me that this craving for dill pickles and the stabilizing of the blood sugar would be dill,
I hate
and the
dill
flower
pickles, though.
essences. Yeah, she did. She
But
absolutely.
I like to
does.
smell dill, and I do hyperglycemia headaches. I don't anymore. I used to, I should say.
Yeah.
As a teenager, I did them quite a bit, and a bottle of
always
dill oil.
It always
would stop
amazes
them.
me how the herb and the homeopathic and the essential oil,
They all
they
do the
all
same thing.
follow the same pattern.
Elm is
Oh.
for the people who consistently take on more than they can get done and
Then-
overwhelm
then they're
themselves with
overwhelmed by the-
responsibility. But then they just turn around and do it again. Yeah. Then there's a 5-flower formula, which is
Rescue remedy.
it is also
its
known
other
as
name,
rescue
yeah.
remedy, and it brings balance and equilibrium after stress. This is one that I keep in my first aid kit when we're
I
camping.
keep it in my purse.
I keep it front and center in the cupboard. It is one for stress, even to the extent of shock.
It'll do so many things. I had one in my purse the other day when a person I was with fell and banged her head and tore skin off her arm, and
That's stressful.
all I had was rescue remedy, and it was just a little one, a tiny one, so I can carry it in my pocket. It was a sample size, but I put half of it on a cloth and stopped the bleeding.
Yeah.
And
If
some of
you're
the
like-
rest went in her mouth.
If
and it
you're
was
like
amazing
thinking,
how it did
maybe
that.
I want to give flower essences a shot. Maybe these guys are crazy. I'm not sure.
Try
but
rescue remedy.
Just get rescue remedy, and the next time that you have a hysterical crying person in front of you, give them a few
Rather
drops.
it's a bee sting, or rather it's an accident,
A
or rather
smashed
it's
finger in the door.
whatever
It doesn't
is.
matter what it is.
I have convinced more doctors than you would care to count how homeopathy works by using
Rescue
5-flower
remedy.
formula in their emergency
in
room.
emergency room, and I'm not sure what you're giving him, but you just keep giving him about every 3 or 4 minutes. When they start to go shocky, she'd give him a little bit
And they'll
more.
tell me you can't give it by mouth because they're going to go into surgery. So I'll just put it on my hand
And
put
rub it
the
on their
back of the
neck.
We've had some fun times in
We've-
emergency
we've
rooms with
I don't know what that
rescue
is. I don't want to know what it is, but keep doing it.
remedy.
That we've heard a couple of times.
Oh, more than that.
Well, I'm up to a couple. All right. Hornbeam is for fatigue.
Absolutely.
It's not so much about being overworked and overwhelmed as it is about just not having any interest in your tasks. Just tired and I don't want to do this at all.
Lost interest in things that
Yep.
used to be enjoyable to
Used
you.
to be important to you, and now you're just like, if it gets done, I don't care.
Yep.
So,
Impatience is
Hornbeam.
exactly what it says. It's for people
Does
who
that
get
need a T?
no.
All right.
The,
that
the
looks
flower
weird.
is called impatience,
Impatience,
but it is for impatience.
impatience, frustration, and tension.
Absolutely. Yeah.
This one tests up for me occasionally. So yeah,
I can't imagine why.
rushing ahead, half prepared, being frustrated. Yeah, this doesn't sound like me at all.
Well, and I love the one because intolerance when other people aren't moving as fast as you are. As fast
That's
as
why
you
this one
expect
tests
them
up
to.
for me. Mhm.
Yep, that one's yours.
And I decide it's okay if we build a house and then it doesn't happen as fast as I want it to. Uh-huh.
Well, your husband has a different pace of life than you do.
Yes, he does. Okay.
So he moves at it used to be my pace. Yeah. Indian pink. All right. What do you want to tell him about that one?
Indian pink tests up for me too. So maybe we should just,
Coordinating multiple tasks at the same time.
yep. It's in one for organizing and getting a whole
Yeah,
bunch done
this,
at the
this
same
is
time.
one that often tests up for me.
Yeah.
I focus on one project to the point of my husband calls it, he only sees the top of my head till I'm finished, you know.
I get
Right.
that way with books, but everything else, I multitask through life pretty good. But I start a book and I'm going to sit there till I finish it.
Yeah, Indian pink is for needing to multitask when it isn't your cup of tea.
Lavender will test up for people who are high strung or just plain wound too tightly. And they're highly
Children.
sensitive to the energy of others.
Neck
So,
and shoulder tension.
it can
is
help
a-
with headaches. Same as the lavender oil. It's just
Yep.
does it on a subtle energy level. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
So oak.
No.
It's for strength and endurance. You think about what the oak tree is. It's a towering pillar of strength, and that's what the oak is too.
There are people with a lot of talent, a lot of ability, a lot of drive, but they've pushed themselves to the limits of their own
They've
strength.
taken on so much beings of strength for so many other people that they themselves need a little
Yep.
boost. So pink yarrow is like lavender. It's for the sensitivity and energy of those around you. If you're a
It's
sponge,
kind of the flower essence equivalent of benediction oil. You know? If you're an energy sponge, this one's probably
you
the
go
one
out
you
into the
need.
world for a little while and you come back just feeling completely overwhelmed. Pink yarrow can be a great help to you.
I'm wearing this to the show this weekend.
Pink yarrow, you're going to take.
I'm going to wear. It wasn't benediction. It was another one I looked at this morning. Oh bother! I made a note on my desk.
Well, it's good, and then you'll just
And
take
then
a
I'll
little
take
pink
pink
yarrow.
yarrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that works. Rabbit brush. That's the strangest little name.
Isn't that the strangest name? Anyway,
It's one to help with the ability to focus and to see the big
the
picture.
big picture. Why you focus on a piece of it. You know, my husband's a master of the art of looking at the big picture. So if he loses that ability, this is the one I run
The
to.
rabbit rush. Oh, these little things are so amazing. I love my flower essences. I ought to test myself for some actually.
Red clover, too easily influenced by other people's opinions. I call it my mob mentality. You know?
Well, and the herb red clover is used for cleaning the blood, so that is really
well, and it's
interesting.
for strengthening the cartilage too.
Yep.
So,
But as a flower essence, it helps us to maintain our own individuality and not get caught up in the I have to be like everybody else. How do I rejuvenate an old bottle of a homeopathic or a flower essence?
oh, you're gonna laugh and you're gonna think
I
I'm
had
crazy.
somebody ask me this question yesterday, and I sat down to type it out. I'm like, oh, this is too big of an explanation.
Okay, let me just demonstrate. If this were your bottle of essential oil, you make a C out of your hand, so you're using your palm and tap it through.
But first, you have to fill it back up with
refill
distilled
it with
water
distilled
and
water and a little
alcohol, and the ratio is
oh God, I don't know, 1 drop of alcohol to 20 drops
of
or
water.
30 drops.
So
doesn't take very much.
most of the time, when you buy a flower essence, it'll come in a 1 ounce bottle. So I will get like what are those bottles that you take camping that you can put ketchup and mustard in there, about 20 ounces with the little top
Little
is what I'm
squirt top,
going for, that little
yeah.
little skinny neck. And I'll fill about the bottom fifth with alcohol, and then I'll fill the rest with distilled water. And purified water is not good enough; it has to be distilled. And I'll shake that up, and I'll just use that to refill my homeopathics. You can actually just let it sit on the counter for 24 hours and regrow itself. But if you're in a hurry,
if it's just old and dead, is that not what she asked? Rejuvenate an old bottle. You can use the energy in the palm of your hand. Just shake your bottle through.
So that C is for
if you muscle test, I always set my intention sway forward if it's rebuilt itself, and it's about 80, 85 shake throughs. You're just loving on it. You just go forward.
Yeah, take the energy that's already there and help
that
it to
sounds
magnify
crazy,
itself.
but
it works. It's the law of homeopathics, and Dr. Edward Bach. If you study him a little bit, there's a lot more answers out there from
there is,
him. So, all right.
Where were we?
We had 3 left. We had rosemary, which I love.
Mental
rosemary
alertness, yes,
as an essential oil,
as an herb, whatever,
as an herb, as a spice. So,
forgetfulness.
Yep. Learning disabilities.
My feet have been cold lately. Coldness in the extremities.
It's one that I will use if my child's having a hard time memorizing something, or a particular concept that we're trying to cover in school is eluding them.
Emotionally and spiritually depleted when under stress. Let's run back to that.
So Star of Bethlehem is one of the oils, one of the 5 flowers in the 5 flower formula, and it is the calming, soothing. It's for people who've been through some sort of a trauma, and I don't typically use this one singly. I typically grab it as part of the 5 flower.
Remedy, yeah, that's what I use. So.
But it's the part of that's what it does. So vervain,
nervous exhaustion from taking on too much.
Yeah, but passionately idealistic. You have to do it yourself because you know how you want it done.
Yep, that would be. That's a good description.
Nobody else is going to do it as well as me, so I have to do it, even though I don't have time.
Oh yes,
that's vervain.
Okay. See, I finally learned to delegate.
Oh yes,
that skill.
And then yarrow, and this is true both of the oil and the flower essence. It just stitches things back together in your psyche.
Vulnerable to the environment around you.
Yeah. The yarrow oil is one for cuts and stitching them back together, but it does the same thing emotionally. It just stitches us back together. So, All right. Our last and final words of wisdom for this week to you is that the opposite of stress is gratitude. If we are grateful for what we have, what we don't have won't stress us out so much. If we are grateful for the things we have, the things that we don't have won't stress us out as much. It's a matter of where your focus is.
If your focus is on the good things that your family members do, or the good things they're trying to be, instead of their annoying habits or things they did to you in the past,
one or the other.
Gratitude. If I get really stressed, I just pull out my gratitude journal and start thanking heaven for the wonderful people I meet through classes, for the things my kids have done for me. And it's amazing. In 10 minutes, you're a whole different person with stress.
Yep. Now, there are a couple of essential oils that are particularly useful for gratitude, and that's where we're going to end today. Different ones help out in different ways. My go-to is Grateful Heart, but some of these hit a little bit differently. So Acknowledge is really for the throat chakra, and it helps us express that gratitude. If we feel it, but we just don't tell people, and the people around us need to hear it, Acknowledge is a great one for that. And sometimes, not expressing your gratitude, how do I put that so it's not really rude?
Really rude.
But if you are gratitude, but the people around you don't know that you're grateful for them, then you're not truly grateful. And so acknowledge
is a throat chakra oil.
it helps you to, yeah, it kind of has a companion with bountiful too. Bountiful can improve the way that we feel about our material possessions, and it can help us to be more grateful for them. And so acknowledge and bountiful kind of go hand in hand.
And there's something about acknowledge when I feel overwhelmed by my responsibilities, and I don't what that doesn't tie into gratitude, but it's like I diffuse that in my office, and it's like they become rather
Thanks,
than
Vicky.
burdens, they become
That was hard to say. So
they become something I want to do rather than a burden. Something it's not. So I have that on my list. I have to get to it. It becomes oh, remember when I put it on there? I was so excited about it, you know. And now it's just
So
a whole new way of
faith
looking.
is one for self-worth and the desire to heal. So it's one that's really good to diffuse when we need to feel grateful. Like we all have health problems. We all have things that we're struggling with. And sometimes you just need to sit and look back and go, but these are the things I no longer struggle with, or these ones aren't as bad as they used to be. And it can help us to be grateful for the progress that we have made.
So faith to me is the choice between I choose to be grumpy this morning, you know, and I will put faith on or diffuse it, and it's like all of a sudden I just want to be happy.
You
I
remember all the
want to be
things you've been
contented.
blessed
you
with.
know? I want to enjoy life.
Yeah. And then grateful heart it does just that. It promotes the feeling of
it's a
gratitude.
oil.
It is definitely very much a stress oil.
And
too.
interestingly enough, it stabilizes blood sugar. And I find quite often hyperglycemia is a family inheritance. When I am feeling least grateful and most stressed, it's because my blood sugar is off. And I can get two things at the same time with grateful heart.
We are instructed to be grateful
Yeah.
to God.
And it's not for his benefit. No.
It's not for him. No, the instruction to be grateful to God is not because he needs us to be grateful. It is because he loves us, and he knows that when we feel that gratitude and when we express that gratitude, we are happier and we are healthier. And he recognizes that we need to be grateful in order to progress and be happy. And so that is for us. We do have another blog that we did probably about a year ago that is called Fear, Worry, and Anxiety Disorders. And at the end of the blog that's coming out today, there's a link to that one, or you can just search for it on the blog, which is butterflyexpressions.net. And that is an excellent blog if you are a chronic fear, stress, and worry person. Or if you have an anxiety disorder, that is it's a great blog. So we've really enjoyed having everybody here with us today. Continue to comment on this video or this post on Facebook, and we will continue to monitor.
Speaking of stress, I didn't remember we had a live this morning, and she
On
stressed
stress.
me out suddenly.
Just a little. She just had the wrong week. I gave her a whole hour though. I walked in and I said, "That doesn't look like you're remembering. We have this today." Well, she gave me the list of things she was going to do, and it wasn't on there. I
It
thought,
wasn't on the list.
okay.
Yeah.
But you are coming, right? I'm not nearly as much fun by myself, so I'm glad she came.
You did
All right.
fine by yourself.
No, I get boring, long, drawn out. We'll catch you in 2 weeks. I cannot for the life of me remember what we're talking about, but it will be physical, whatever it is. Sorry, I was going to look it up, but I'm getting ready to go to the show in Salt Lake. I'm really excited. I hope I see some of you there. That would be cool.
That'd be fun.
Kat, if you do run into us at one of our shows, tell me that. Say, hey, I watch you on YouTube or I watch you on Facebook, because I get a kick out of that. It cracks me up. Somebody's watching me. Yay. Thank you. And we'll catch you in 2 weeks.